Google just announced it's going to completely change the way people are going to search. In fact, it is completely changing its own search engine by putting AI layer just underneath, so everything can be done through AI. Now that brings us to the point that what we got to do for our websites and our content so we can reach to the right audience. So generally, when I want to read something, I always read blogs from the source I'm kind of looking at. For example, when this rollout came, I wanted to read Google's own blog on it, and I found something really, really interesting in that. So one, it's in short, I just want to tell you, all right? I just want to tell you, in short, it's just about you asking the questions, and instead of writing keywords, best lawyer or SEO for law firm, you just write who is the best agency, or which is the best agency that can help me get my SEO done in Houston, Texas. And then it would bring up numerous search results, and it would match your intent, and obviously it's going to tell you that these are the people, verified, blah blah blah. Same goes for e-commerce. If you're selling something, Google isn't going to link your website. In fact, somebody wants to buy, let's say, pots, right? So it's going to say, I would like to buy a red pot. Maybe it looks like a dog, right? That's funny. What kind of pot would look like a dog? But then Google's going to pull, literally items from different shopping places, and then it will also pull sort of promotions or something like that, and then it would apply it automatically somehow, and then you could get the best experience where you can just add to cart within the search engine. And then for some reason, I don't know how it's going to change the whole e-commerce market, because most of the e-commerce market depends on upsells, where you see a product and then they say, okay, you could also buy this, and that really makes them money. So the point is, anyway, we just digressing. But the thing is that it's just going to help you shop right there and then, so you don't have to go on a website, right? Number one, that's right. Number two, now instead of opening your calendar on your phone or your laptop, you could just build a calendar app and have it personalized. And then there is going to be an agent which is going to work for you 24/7 on your phone or whatever. I don't know how. And this just said it will ask for your instructions, sort of a inbuilt version of Google's own OpenClaw. I'm not sure how the guardrails will work. And while you sleep, it's going to continue function, draining your phone's battery and resources and the money that you have in your bank, because you're paying for tokens, even if it's not just spending on weird stuff, right? And then when you wake up, it's going to tell you that these are the tasks you got to do the next day or the same day. And that's how you're going to be the most productive. Oh, that was an intentional moment of silence, right? But the thing is, it's kind of funny to me, because the whole ideas that Google is now bringing into its own search engine have been tried and tested, and they have massively failed. So let's look at the first thing, right? First thing. And that was Perplexity AI. Now, Perplexity AI came and they announced, you know what, this is the end of Google. We're going to kill every single search engine out there, because what you all got to do is ask our agent, what do you want? What do you want to know or learn? And what you got to do? And it will just pull up results and everything, And it's been like a couple of years now, I think 1 or 2, possibly. The things happen so fast, I can't recall stuff anymore, right? But that company is burning 65 billion a year and making a total revenue. I'm just telling you, a total revenue around 20 billion, right? Oh no, sorry, that's my bad. It was 500 million. So it's just insane to me that a company who wanted to replace Google search now is being replaced by Google's own version of that particular search, which people have already rejected. And then they're trying to introduce an agent that works for you, builds your app within the search engine. And that agent was already there as OpenClaw. People tried using it, lost a lot of money, repute, and I don't know what else they lost. But the point was that it was hell, right? Now Google started to repackage all those ideas in a fancy new Google wrapper and thinks that people are going to be really, really happy about it. But not being critical, like to an unreasonable level, but it's just funny that they're just doing it, right? And the biggest thing is that I just, while I just saw this blog post, I wanted to know who exactly basically came up with these ideas where I couldn't find it. But then I thought, why not just ask or see the people themselves what conversations they're basically doing on the videos that Google have put on YouTube. So I'm going to show some of these right videos and their comments, so which is very funny. So let me just share the screen. So if you search YouTube and you say YouTube and then just go to say Google and say Google I/O 2026, you're gonna find a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff. So let's just do this one. 2000 recap everything you wanna know. This is a Google link, and the videos are amazing. You gotta watch this. The amount of detailing in these videos, right? Honestly, you have to appreciate that. The video editors at Google are amazing, and I'm pretty much sure that this is not AI. This is real humans doing it. But anyway, if you look at the comments, the first person, you have so many AI users because you didn't give us a freaking option. It doesn't mean we like it. Obviously, they're saying we've got 1 billion users now using AI overviews instead of going to people's website to find the right information. Yeah, because you just shoved it on our faces and people are lazy. People just want to just get over that, right? So people just want to search and they're like, okay, let's use it. And then they find out it's all slop that it's generated. And then they go waste more time finding those websites because in the first place they weren't there. And when they do, they're like, thank God, right? And they hate Google even more. And then it's like, make an option to disable AI features. Bold of them to leave these comments open. Yeah. And they're like, 922 likes, That's actually interesting because if you look at the number of likes on these comments, it's more than the likes on the video. And this is hidden, right? You may have an external tool and you'll find that the number of dislikes on this video are insanely high. Insanely high. Now let's just, this is so funny because I honestly want to tell you that please go and read them yourselves. You will have a great time, right? You'll have a great time. But the point is, now we have to come towards something very, very serious, right? And that is, when it comes to law firms, it's all about prestige and relevance. It's about your authority. It's about your image. And I know for the fact the law firms I work with, they're really, really concerned about reputation. In fact, I think lawyers and doctors, and probably some companies in the finance industries, have actually been paying people to manage their reputation online, right? So that's the biggest concern of any lawyer, right? Now, I just invited this guest on my podcast recently, right? So generally, I don't, look up on an AI when it comes to guest, but I was running late that day because I had some work at the office. I couldn't prepare that well. So a couple of hours ago, were left, and I was like, let's just search who this guy is, and let's find some sites where he has been mentioned, and then I'll go give it a read, right? So I hopped onto Gemini. I said because for Gemini, because I believe that it comes from Google. Google indexes almost everything, so Gemini should have the right information more than Claude or Grok or whatever the hell there is, GPT probably, because most of the sites now block the crawlers from these AI search answering machines. I don't know what those are, but so Gemini natively has the information, right? So I just put his website, put his name, and I said, okay, find more relevant links about this guy. So I just want to read those links. Interestingly, I have kind of interestingly, I just started going to the links. I read about that guy. He just gave some sort of speech at a local university. He's a well-known guy in the local area. People follow him. He has good amount of following on LinkedIn, and generally there are no red flags about this guy, right? Now, when I did that. So, every time you ask a question or try to get some information out of an LLM, they want to keep you within that chat function. So they would always ask you another question. So that the question was, would you want me to verify these facts written within the website? Like, okay, maybe all right, let's do this. And it started verifying, right? He said, this guy has some yellow flags, not red flags, right? So I said, okay, what does that mean? Like yellow flags, like he's not really a tier one professional, and he has been published. His articles have been published. He's written some books, but he's not tier one and some crap, slop. And I said, and that's what I always say, that you just told me that this guy is tier 2, 3, whatever. Could you cite me the sources where you have gained this information about this person? And he was a lawyer, by the way, right? So he said, oh, I just invented this because he has not been published in tier 1 publications. And then he started pointing me towards directories like, I think, Law Next or something, and Clock. And I said, you know what, these sites, they are pay to win, because you pay them, they're going to publish an article. So that doesn't mean that this person doesn't know about his stuff, right? And he's a lawyer. And like, oh yeah, you're right, because I just produced those results because I thought that these are the credible sources. And I said, so that means anybody who can pay now would be more credible, more informed, I think, with a better technical knowledge of his domain, just because he can pay. And now the LLM started, hallucinating hard and defending itself like it always does. Now that brings us to a very, very dystopian sort of situation here, right? You see, for a lawyer or any business, right? Previously, your work would come from the case studies you had built and people you have worked with, your reviews, possibly something like you could have published something on your website that was highly, highly important, and that would help a lot of people, and then people would cite you here and there. And that was basically the way people would find you, right? And that's how your domain authority or the page rank or whatever would increase. But now the whole idea of this search is index the whole Reddit, because that's where the humans are talking. And itself, those humans are not even experts, but they're just talking. So let's just index that. And then look at the pay to win sites and see if they have mentioned this person. And then we just announce, even when not asked, that this guy is credible or not, right? So that brings us to this huge problem, right? And that problem is when an end user who doesn't know about you asks these LLMs, they are going to get, I think, badly informed about you, right? And probably if they wanted to be your customer, they wouldn't choose you because the LLM said that this guy is tier 2 or tier 3, right? Nobody wants to pick somebody in those tiers, right? Everybody wants to go to the guy at tier 1. So I hope you understand what I basically am trying to point you towards. Now, I'm not here to sort of tell you that you're in danger, but I just want to warn you that Google itself is kind of right now in a sort of, or maybe under leadership. I don't know. The leadership looked fine to me a couple of years ago, but it's kind of like trying to eat itself. And it doesn't make sense for Google, which gets like 60% of their revenue from search only, would want to destroy search and keep putting money in these LLMs, which are making no money at all. In fact, it's causing them to lose billions per week, right? I guess that's what's happening. So why would they do that? That's a question I still wonder, right? I still want to know why, because it does make sense for ChatGPT or OpenAI or Anthropic to do that because they want to get funds from the investors, right? But it doesn't make sense for Google because Google itself is one of the biggest, largest companies on the planet Earth, and they can fund, make their chips. They can do anything, right? Even if they just sit around for next 100 years, not change a damn thing, and just remove AI, and still not change the damn thing, they will still be making billions and trillions, right? It doesn't matter to them. But why would they do this? And it's just completely, it's something I still need to figure out, honestly. And if you have figured out, you can tell me in the comments, right? So coming to the point that if that is happening, if the LLMs are still quoting you as tier 2, tier 3, or an unknown person, what you got to do, right? You see, every time this sort of shift comes in technology, it has two different kind of, say, results. So just let me switch to this. I don't want to show you the comments all the time. So the two kind of results that I'm talking about are like, number one, people either shift, or the real customer that you are looking for either shift to different platforms where the slop or whatever they dislike isn't there, or they find new ways to find you because they do need your services, right? At the end of the day, no matter what these LLMs do, they're not going to replace a lawyer because I don't want to hand out my case to an LLM so it hallucinates in front of a judge and kills my case, right? I want a professional. And to find a professional service, I got to research and I'm going to go on their website, see if that person is credible from my own perspective, right? Not from an LLM eyes, right? So this brings us to the point that this creates a massive opportunity. And that massive opportunity lies in other search engines. In fact, I was just looking around and I was reading these comments, and then I went on Reddit and I read the comments on the same, Google's rollout. People have been talking about using search engines which are privacy first, like DuckDuckGo, and there was another one. I can't recall. It was like Fast Page or something like that. Anyway, I'm gonna link those in the description. And the funny thing is, all these search engines which are already there get their information about your website from Bing indexing or Google search indexing, right? Which means you're not supposed to go out of Google ecosystem, but then you can still leverage upon these kind of search engines where now people are shifting to remove AI overviews and then ads, which are super annoying sometimes, for people. And now it's just going towards this particular point. So even if we just make an assumption, right? So previously it was said that 9% of the traffic comes from AI overviews or ChatGPT or these LLMs, right? Now that 9% traffic doesn't mean anything because obviously the person who's trying to search for an answer maybe just needs an information that just clicks on your website link, which is given within that source, but he's not going to be your customer anyway, right? But the people who avoid these are also in big numbers. Now, how big they are in numbers, I don't know. I'm going to research on that. Probably I'm just going to put another video after researching on this. But as these features roll out, just like it happened with Perplexity, just annoying to, say that word, more people are going to look for alternatives. And that means you can catch that high intent traffic in those search engines. So your website has become even more important. So people are thinking, oh, websites don't really matter anymore. No, they do. Because now a big chunk of people will just, and they already have, right? So if you look at the users who, in fact, why look at the users, right? Just search, right? So, and on Google, right? So say, how many monthly users use DuckDuckGo, right? So let's see. So skip AI. So say backlinks. So let's say some stats here from this blog, and you might say handles an average of 3 billion search queries a month, right? Worldwide claims 0.76 share of engine market. In US, it holds 1.84% share, right? Now, that means that basically it's a huge number. And these are the people who want to go on your website and read about you and your content. So the intent now has become even more important because people are now shifting from these AI slot machines towards real search engines where your websites should technically rank, right? And the best way to rank your websites is generating really good content. And that's what every single SEO person should tell you. But if you're right now uh, being scammed by an agency that, oh, what, you know what, I'm going to rank your website in an LLM, but that's not going to happen because it's a predictive model. For my personalized search, they might just rank you on the 7th place. Maybe there's somebody else. The LLM might rank you in the first place. It's just, and sometimes if you just close that chat window and then open a new one and search for the best lawyers, your name might be in the 3rd place. So which was initially in the first chat was in the first place. So it's just crazy that you're handing money, thousands of dollars, to AI search optimization companies, which really cannot even ensure that their name pops up in the first place every single time. So, well, if you're doing something like that, I'm not sure why you're doing this, but think about it, right? And slowly, as this whole thing goes, the way it is, you'll realize more and more people are just going to shift towards something like a traditional search, right? And they should find you there. So that's my idea of all this. And I believe that because these LLMs kind of get information from your website, your blogs, and then just show it to the users, the only way to get cited here is just to create amazing content, right? So that you're not just cited within the LLMs, but these search engines, no matter what search engines people use, they must always find you. Because if the content is really helpful, if it matches their intent, you want to increase sales, right? So don't be worried, my friends. This comment section has given me the hope that we are going towards a better place. So don't fall for the hype. Do the real work, and that's what's going to pay you off very, very soon. So thank you for watching the video. If you like this type of content, do let me know and comment below what you think about it. And just don't be as rude as you were to Google. But yeah, critical comments, I'd love that. I just want to improve anything I create. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.